1,000 years ago, the sky screamed. Without warning, the moon shattered in a cataclysm of silent light. Across the world, night turned to day as pieces of the moon, some the size of mountains, fell to the earth in a rain of fire and glowing dust. The world trembled, oceans roared, kingdoms crumbled beneath the celestial storm. Entire civilizations disappeared overnight, reduced to ruins and myth. But time, as it always does, softened the horror into legend. The moon, what remained of it, hung in the sky like a broken crown, its jagged crescent glowing faintly. The shattering became a tale for firesides, a myth used to frighten children or entertain scholars, until now. Now, 1,000 years later, the fragments are falling again. They burn through the atmosphere with strange blue fire, embedding themselves deep into the earth. Where they land, nothing is ever the same. Forests mutate. Beasts grow monstrous. People change, some blessed with strange powers, others driven mad by whispers only they can hear. These glowing shards, called moon shards by the people, offer power, but at a price. In the cities, a new religion rises, the pale cult. They worship the broken moon as a god, believing the new moonfall is a sacred judgment. They seek the shards, not to destroy them, but to bring about another, final shattering. They claim it is the will of the stars. Others, rogue scholars, outcast warriors, wandering mages, search for a different truth. They believe the original shattering was not natural, not divine, but caused, and that someone or something is trying to finish what was started a millennium ago. At the center of it all is a mystery buried in time. Why did the moon shatter? What ancient force caused its destruction, and why is it happening again? And most chilling of all, what will happen when the last fragment falls? This is the story of those who will search for answers, of those who wield the power of the moon and battle the corruption it brings, of a world standing on the brink between salvation and oblivion. The world ended in silence. It was the 27th night of the frost moon, a time of harvest festivals and quiet prayers beneath silver skies. Children danced in firelit streets. Lovers whispered secrets under the stars. Elders gathered to pass down stories their grandparents had told them, tales of wolves that became men, of livers that whispered truths. And overhead, the moon hung full and pale, casting its ancient glow across valleys and mountains alike. Then it shattered, not with sound, but with a blinding light, a brilliance so intense it turned night into noon, casting shadows in every direction. People looked skyward, mouths agape, shielding their eyes too late. The moon, once whole and eternal, cracked like glass under the weight of some invisible force. It broke into 1,000 pieces, jagged, sharp, and glowing with a pale blue fire. The first of the fragments came just seconds later. In the highlands of Ellenville, a mountain cracked in half as a moon shard the size of a keep smashed into its heart. The ground trembled for leagues in every direction. In the forest of Haskinwood, animals fled madly as blue flame rained from the sky, igniting trees and boiling lakes. In the coastal cities of the south, tidal waves rose with monstrous speed, swallowing ports and temples alike. People screamed, prayed, fled,
but nowhere was safe. They called it the Shattering. No one knew why it had happened. There was no warning, no prophecy, no alignment of stars, no dark omen, only the instant of rupture and the fire that followed. Some said it was punishment from the gods, retribution for forgotten sins. Others claimed it was a celestial war, some unseen battle fought in the heavens, spilling over into the mortal world. A few whispered that something escaped the moon, something ancient and buried in its core, finally free. What all agreed upon, though, was this: the world would never be the same. In the days that followed, the skies remained eerily quiet. The once full moon now hung in fragments, a jagged arc surrounded by floating shards, orbiting each other like slow-drifting predators. Night had changed. The stars seemed dimmer, the winds colder. Even time itself felt altered. Then came the first change. In the village of Marne Hollow, a child was found sleeping beside a moon shard no bigger than a pumpkin. The shard glowed gently, pulsing with faint light. When the child awoke, his eyes burned silver, and the dead grass around him had sprouted green. Word spread quickly. The fragments were not just debris, they were alive, or something close to it. In the kingdom of Ryanor, a warrior who touched a fallen shard gained the ability to move faster than the eye could track, but he began hearing whispers in his sleep, voices urging him to finish the work. He was later found in a trance, carving strange lunar symbols into stone with his bare fingers. In the city of Aranthil, a noblewoman collected fragments in secret. She claimed they gave her visions of a future bathed in silver light, a paradise ruled not by men, but by the true moon. Her followers, pale-robed and zealous, formed what would become the Pale Cult. And far beneath the ruined observatories of the old world, ancient machines, long dormant, began to stir. Among the chaos, few noticed a rider galloping through the ash-wind wastes. Her name was Kaelin. She was no hero, not yet. A tracker by trade, born in the salt flats of the West with more scars than friends and more debts than coin. But she carried something no one else did, a shard that spoke. It didn't speak in words, not exactly. It hummed softly, like wind through glass. It made her dreams feel too real. It pulled her toward places she had never seen, places buried in memory or dust. And sometimes when she held it close, she saw images, a moon not broken, but whole, a voice crying out in rage, a forge beneath a sea of stars. Kaelin had no interest in prophecy. She wanted to sell the shard, pay her debts, and disappear. But the shard had other plans. It burned hot in her pack, leading her eastward toward the ruins of the old lunar temples, places no one dared enter, not anymore. And so began the quiet beginnings of a new legend, not with a chosen one, not with a sword in a stone or a crown lost in time, but with a fractured sky, a whispering moon, and the slow, inevitable pull of fate. For those who lived through the Shattering, the world had ended, but for those born after, it had merely begun. The sky was no longer a comfort, the moon was no longer whole, and the age of the Moonfallen had begun.